Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Padam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vedya Dravitam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Yata Sarvani Bhutani Pratibhanti Stitani Cha, Yatraivo Pashamam Yanti, Tasvai Satyatmane Namaha. So, where are we in our text?
Page 316, number 1314.
Who would like to chant tonight? Sure. Do you need a copy of the book?
Yeah. The page?
316.
$11, $12, right?
Which one's Mark?
It's number 1314.
Okay. Ajara Maramatmanam Abudva Pariroditi Hahatoham Anathoham Nashto Smiti Vapukshaye. Not knowing the undecaying and immortal self, one weeps around on the decline or destruction of the body thus. Alas, I'm slain or struck. I'm helpless, I'm lost.
So again, the idea that we're working on, the bija vasana, the root identification is with the body. And in the Thursday class, we were going through what is it? Where is this identification? And I used the map of Shankara's going through the Panchakosha, the 5 sheaths. And in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, in the subtle intellectual sheath, Shankara calls it the Karta, the doer. And it's a function that attributes to the self the qualities of the not self. Now listen very carefully. This karta in the Vijnanamaya Kosha is not evil, it's not bad, it's just not you. In fact, at the level of the individuality, we couldn't function in the world without one. You know, it's the way that coordinates. I got up this morning, I had spaghetti Alfredo for lunch. I came home, got a ride with my friend Scott. All this is coordinated through memory, the perceptions, everything. I was walking along Grand Avenue and there was this person, bless their heart, and they were having a very intense conversation out loud with someone who wasn't there. Now, maybe mental illness, maybe drug-induced psychosis, but whatever it was, this Ch.30 had been broken in some way. They were talking to someone who wasn't even around. Or you read in stories about people with multiple personalities. That just fascinates me. That just fascinates me. Or one that maybe several of us have experienced on our own. Have you ever had a blackout while drinking? Said or done things you don't even remember. It's like somebody else did it when someone tells you about it. These are misfires in this Ch.30. So it's not evil. It's not bad. It's just not you. So the moon is in the sky, you see the 6 moons in the jars of water. They're not evil, those reflections. It's just not the moon. If you can say, oh, that's really cool. There are 6 reflected moons in the jars. No problem. Likewise, when I see Ch.30, then it's not problematic. But if I take it as myself, then I think I'm the body. That's the root identification. And then the fear of destruction, the fear of death, the fear of lack of security of money, property, and prestige becomes terribly afflicting. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Anatmanyatmatam asmin dehadau drishyjalake yaktva sattvam uparudho gudha tishtha yatha sukham. Giving up the superimposition of the nature of the self on the non-self, such as the body and the web of visible objects, attaining to sattva, of purity, knowledge, and harmony, remain hidden at will. Note, the word hidden indicates absorption in the self or entering the core of one's being, oblivious of the objective world.
Yes. So what do we mean by oblivious of the objective world? There are 2 ways, always, to interpret slokas like this. First is a reference to the mind state of nirvikalpa samadhi. When meditation is at its deepest, when the flow of thought has ceased, then the individual knower, this Ch.30, and the phenomenal world that precedes it. But the other way of interpreting it, that's like snake in the rope. When you apprehend the rope, the snake is not available for perception. But the other great metaphor the scriptures use is mirage waters in the sand off the desert. So when I'm in ignorance, my senses report water, my knowledge is water. When I see what is, my senses still continue to report water, but my knowledge is heat waves off the sand. So I have disappeared the water. So for the person of steady wisdom, she looks at this body, mind, intellect and sees that it comes about like the dream body. She looks at this world of name and form. It is seen. But my knowledge is pratibimba, like the reflection in a mirror. Nitya, illusory. Like a dream. So many people read the scriptures, they strive hard for nirvikalpa. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a pitfall. The pitfall is we make nirvikalpa itself another object of desire. If you get one of these big bawanga nirvikalpas, blessings upon you. But in the meantime, be fixed on the question, who am I? Take on the practice, no personal sense of self is real. Right about that. Practice this intense vairagya, give up attachment and identification. Because the fruit of a deep and profound nirvikalpa is being established in yourself. Meaning, I always remember, I know, not that I'm a person who's had nirvikalpa, not that I'm an enlightened person. Chidananda Rupaha. I know the form of space consciousness. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. Stay focused. And let nirvikalpa just sneak upon you from behind. What you can practice though is savikalpa, which is this intense introversion of the mind. What was that expression you used, Corey? Jory, I called you Corey. Jory, what was it? Drown the mind in Brahman or soak the mind in the self? How did it go?
Soaking, yeah.
Yeah, soak the mind in the self. Over and over again. Next verse.
Sargatmabhik vibhuspandai क्रीडते बालवत् स्वयं संहारात्म शक्त्याथ संहृत्यात्मनि तिष्ठति. The all-pervading one sports by himself like a child through movements of the nature and creation. and by his energy of the nature of destruction, having withdrawn the created universe, he abides in his own self.
Yes. So Ch.30 is the verb here, which is to sport or to play. So the way I like to frame it is just put the robot on automatic pilot. Just push the AI button. Let your body, mind, intellect function as it will in the world. You get up. Have no concern for it. It will get its allotted dose of successes and failures according to Prarabdha. Last night, we had another one of my favorite verses. What is day to the Muni, the person of steady wisdom, is night to all others. And what is day to all others is night to the person of steady wisdom. So the woman of knowledge, she has another playground. She has this Atmanam. And as Hamlet says, to grunt and sweat under a weary life. That's what the world does. That's what the yogi did. Two different realities. And the way the Master Jesus talked about it, I am in the world, but not of it. My kingdom is not of this world. I'm a playground. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. Any thoughts on this? And then, like I always say, watch out for the terrible demon. Yeah, but Jim, this is really important. I have to worry about this. Next verse.
Aho nu chitra mayeyam tata vishvavimohini sarvanga protam apyetam yat atmanam na pashyati. Ah, my child, this illusion bewildering the universe is indeed wonderful, since one does not perceive the self, though extending throughout the body.
Read that again. That's kind of strange.
This illusion bewildering the universe is indeed wonderful, since one does not perceive the self, though extending throughout the body.
Okay, so it's wonderful. It's full of wonder. Because of Maya, the world appears. Again, where is the locus of Maya? It's in Brahman. Just because you or I attain self-realization doesn't make the phenomenal world cease to appear. But the person in ignorance takes it as real. Person of steady wisdom sees it for what it really is. All just rumbling. And the best worldly metaphor that I've ever found is like going to the movies. Anybody see the new Marvel movie? Seen, an action film lately?
Yes.
What'd you see?
John Wick the Fourth.
What happened to it?
Lots of shooting, action, violence, and
Well done.
Keanu Reeves avoiding thousands of forms of death.
Is he still good looking?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the movie?
Eh. It was quite ridiculous.
So's this one.
Agreed.
But that's what it's like. Hopefully, sometimes you go to a good movie.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars.
Sure.
It can be a comedy, a tragedy, an action film. And we have a resonance. We feel all the feelings, but at some deep level, we know it's just a movie. I get up and walk out of the theater. This is no different. No different. So the person of steady wisdom doesn't avoid the world. Oh, it's some scary objects of the senses. Avoid them like the plague. No. It's all just rumbling. One of the things that I loved watching Swamiji when he would be in the world, he just thought people were very funny. He laughed all the time at how silly we were. And he was a great mimic. Someone were going through something, he would just be like a comedian. He'd just mimic it back to them. He'd make us all laugh. We'd all see how really silly we were. Next verse.
idam ramyam idam neti bijam tat dukkha santate tasmin samyagnina dagdhe dukkhasya vasara kutah. This is pleasing, this is not. That idea is the seed or origin of the succession of sorrows. When that is burnt by the fire of equality, where is the occasion for sorrow?
Yes. So the way Nisargadatta Maharaj frames it, both pleasing and non-pleasing, worldly happiness, worldly suffering, they are the same thing. They will always follow in succession. Conducive environment, non-conducive environment. And the more attached I am to trying to play whack-a-mole with the world and have conducive environments, the more painful it is. when it all changes, because it's all going to change. So cultivate this samadrishta, this equality of vision, this mature vairagya, transcending ordinary people's notions of raga and desha. Any thoughts on this? For the person who's got supreme dispassion, detachment, surrender, acceptance. Condition has so many names. Santosha, contentment. Then we have peace. We have peace. We have happiness. But the person whose mind is drawn away by the turbulent senses, no peace. No peace, no happiness. Next one.
Yoga Bhumika, the steps of yoga or the effort towards absorption in the self. Shastra Sajjana Samparkaihi Prajnam Adau Vivardhayet Prathama Bhumikau Shokta Yogasya Navayoginah Vicharanat Vitiya Syat Tritiya Sangha Bhavana. Let one increase his wisdom or discernment at first by contact with the association of scriptures and virtuous people. This is called the first step of yoga of those newly practicing yoga. The second would be investigation or reflection. The third, the feeling or mental disposition of non-attachment.
So here he's setting out a series of practices. Again, one practice isn't one size fits all, nor is it for us for the whole of our sadhana. So here he's given us the first three. Let's break them down. What was the first one again?
Association with scriptures and virtuous people.
Yeah. So this is what the Buddha meant when he said, take refuge in the Sangha. In the Yoga Vedanta tradition, what's the root cause of liberation according to Tripura Rahasyam? Anybody remember? Yes. If we have the great punya, the great good fortune to meet a person of steady wisdom, everything flows much more easily. But if we don't have that, our own swadhyaya, our own study of the scriptures, with a good commentary, hanging out with other serious practitioners. So what Swamiji would do when he was first starting up the Chinmaya mission, he would start study groups. No guru, no teacher there. And he would take a book like his Self-Unfoldment series or something like that, read it together and discuss it. He used to put out a magazine called Mananam. I don't know if they still do, which is thinking about this. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, environment is stronger than will. If you're hanging out with the party crowd, and everybody at work goes out on Friday night and gets drunk every week, Your colleagues are snorting coke in the bathrooms, during break time. Everybody they're all worried about their cryptocurrency and how their stock portfolio's doing and working all the angles of life. It'll be very hard to be a yogi. So here the scripture says, hang out with some more like-minded people. If you spend all your time in a barbershop, you're likely to get a haircut. What's the second one?
Investigation or reflection.
Yes. Vichara. Who am I? What is this world? How has it come about? What is the cause of suffering? Investigate, watch your friends. Look to see those who are being driven towards cash and prizes. Just get quiet, watch them. Do they seem happy to you? Empathetically, you see family members and all they are is caught up in ritual. Do they seem happy to you? Who has what you want? That's a valid investigation. Many people ask me, what drew you to Vedanta? And I say, it wasn't Vedanta, it was Swamiji. If he'd been a Buddhist, I'd be a Buddhist. If he'd been a Sufi, I'd be a Sufi. This happened to be his means of knowledge. But it was he. He had what I wanted. That led me to investigation. Atma Vichara, Drishya Viveka. Firm conviction in the intellect that Brahman alone is real. And the Jagat, the phenomenal world, is illusion, mithya. As considered discrimination, viveka, between the real and the unreal, mithya, anthya. Next one. Oh no, that's the second one. Did we get all three of them?
Now the third is the feeling or mental disposition of non-attachment.
Ah, yes. Yes. Abhyasa Vairagyacha is what Yoga Sutra says. We continue our practice and mature dispassion. And again, this dispassion is a function of insight, not of some moral precept. I let things go because I understand the phenomenology of pleasure. I was talking with a young man. It's amazing, 28 years old. And he just did his first 4-day Buddhist retreat, Vipassana retreat. Retreat master, thank God, spent time on the Four Noble Truths. So he came out of it with a clear understanding of what is it that causes my suffering? That's how you develop dispassion, non-attachment. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
Vilapani chaturthi syat vasana vilaya vasana vilayatmika shuddha sambin payananda rupa bhavati panchami artha sutta prabuddhamo jivan muktotra tishtati. The fourth would be destroying and is of the nature of the dissolution of mental impressions. The fifth is of the nature of bliss consisting of pure consciousness. In this step, the yogin liberated while living remains like one half asleep and awake. That is, even though awake, their awareness is internalized and in repose as one in sleep.
Yes. So the first of these, the fourth again, what was that one?
The fourth is destroying and of the
Yes.
nature of the dissolution of mental impressions.
So what Shankara says, it is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now. Let's consider liberation by the wise. What does that mean? How do I know if my mind is under the influence of vasana? One very simple test. What is it? Anybody remember?
I think I'm a person.
Yes. Vasana has two powers. Veiling power, Varana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. Veiling power, the non-apprehension of my essential nature. I no longer have the clear understanding that I am the ground of being. I'm witnessing consciousness. I lose that. Then Vikshepa Shakti, the mind projects the fake self, the shadow self. I think I'm a person. Jiva Bhavana. When I'm in that state, ego always presents a goal, and then I have to struggle towards that goal. Yoga says, get out of the whole dynamic. Stop for a moment. Remember who you are. Drop it. Over and over and over. That's the fourth. What's the fifth?
Nature of bliss consisting of pure consciousness.
So practicing this retiring into the self. Why? What's the value of this? The ruthless rule of the mind. The mind will return to the experience that's given it the greatest joy. And if your greatest joy is some external worldly experience, you can have all the Vedanta in the world in your head, and you're still going to go for that. And if you continue to do your best to revel in the self, tune up the mind, to soak the mind in Brahman, to drown the mind in itself. In the beginning, it may be very tenuous. It's okay. Keep at it. In time, this will become more pleasure giving than the world. Actually only has to happen once. Maybe you go see a great Mahatma, and there's that grace-filled moment. Everything falls away. Then you leave India and you come back to the States. Your mind will be driven back to that experience. Then it becomes the engine for your sadhana. And when you're in that state, then you have become a mumukshu. What is mumukshutva? The burning desire, liberation, that continues to drive the mind. Soak the mind, drown pure consciousness. And what was the last one? The sixth one?
That's only 5.
Only 5. All right,
Well, the 6th is next.
next verse then.
Swasamvedana rupa cha shashti bhavati bhumika आनन्दैक घनाकारा सुषुप्त सदृशस्थितिः तुर्यावस्थो पशान्ताथ मुक्तिरेवेह केवलम्. The 6th step is of the nature of the perception of one's own self, that is pure objectless awareness. Its form is complete or uninterrupted bliss alone. The state is similar to deep sleep, with the exception that here one is fully conscious, and this tranquil Turiya state is just liberation here, absolutely.
Here. Simply said, the effortless, constant knowledge that I am Brahman. So again, as Ramana Maharshi says, just as for the ordinary person, you don't have to practice knowing that your body is human. You don't wake up in the morning thinking you're a goat or a cow or a horse or a pig, at least most of us. But you know you're a human. You don't have to practice it or remind yourself of it. So also for the Jivan Mukta. It's the most obvious thing in the world. Not a person anymore. In fact, you realize you never were. You know where happiness is. Ch.30. Next one.
Samata Swachhata Saumya Saptami Bhumika Bhavet Turyatita Tuyavastha Para Nirvana Rupini Saptami Sa Paripraudha Vishayasyatna Jivatam. Identity with Brahman, or the Supreme Spirit, and absolute purity constitute the auspicious 7th step. But such a state beyond the Turiya state referred to earlier is the highest and is of the nature of nirvana, or final liberation from relative existence and absorption in the Supreme Spirit. That fully matured 7th state cannot be the subject of the living That is, it is liberation without the body.
Now I'm going to push back on the scripture a little bit. The scriptures tend to make a distinction between being jivan mukta, liberated while alive, and videha moksha, liberation beyond the body. If the mark of the person of steady wisdom is that they know they are consciousness and not the body, we call that being jivan mukta. But if you see the body for what it is, just an illusion, a dream-like appearance, though other people may see a body and they call it you, right here, right now, you are beyond the body. So whether the body walks around or the body falls down dead, you are videha moksha, liberated beyond. Will I have to come back, Jim, if I'm liberated? A person who's really a person of steady wisdom doesn't care about the question. It's inconsequential. Tomorrow I'm going to wear my black jeans or my blue jeans. Why is this important to really internalize? There is a subtle state that some of us get where we dealt with the vast majority of our desires for the world, but we still find the world rather annoying, and the body is rather painful. Then you start having thoughts, oh, I can't wait till death comes and I don't have to come back again. Icky old body, icky old world. It's not free. That aversion itself is an attachment. So we live with mortality on one shoulder, be ready to die at any moment, but then live with immortality of the body on the other shoulder. What if it's going to be just like this for the rest of eternity? The solution is the same. Give the big middle finger to the world. Hold it lightly. None of it touches you. So this distinction of jivan mukta and videha mukta, it's not a real distinction in the end. The teaching is for those who are identified with the body, looking at men and women of knowledge. It's a pointless teaching for the person of steady wisdom. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Purvavasthatrayam tvatra jagrat इत्येव संस्थितं चतुर्थी स्वप्न इत्युक्ता स्वप्नाभं यत्र वै जगत् आनन्दैकधिकनिभावात् सुषुप्ताख्या तु पंचमी. The first three states here are only like the waking state. The fourth is called the dreaming state, where the world is indeed like a dream. On the other hand, the fifth is called the state of deep sleep on account of its nature of deep or uninterrupted bliss alone.
So here are poetic ways of describing the experiences of the yogi on the journey. Now, part of India's cultural treasure is the systemization of spiritual experience, the technology of spiritual experience. But part of that is lots of lists. So when we read these yoga bhumikas, these stages of yoga, what it's not recommending that you do is, oh golly, am I at step 3.78 or am I at step 4? Don't worry about it quite so much. They're just kind of there. It's this particular scripture's math. Keep it simple. Cast off your concern for this world. And revel in the best that you can. And if your mind extroverts, no problem. Remember, bring it back over. Swamiji always used to say it's an evolution, not a revolution. Next one.
असंवेदन रूपाथ षष्ठी तुर्यपदामिधा तुर्यातीता पदावस्था सप्तमी भूमिकोत्तमा मनोवचोभि अग्राह्या स्वप्रकाश पदात्मिका. Likewise, the sixth is denoted by the word turya, which is the nature of absence of knowing or experiencing. The state constituting the step beyond the turya is the highest and the seventh stage, which cannot be grasped or apprehended by the mind and words, and which is of the nature of the abode of self-lustre.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He uses the term turiya, meaning the fourth. Another way of looking at what that means is what the Gaudapada Karika says about it in Mandukya. Silence, waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, and not a fourth state of consciousness, but the fourth in our series of discussion, meaning it's the consciousness in which all mind states occur. Give up all struggle. If you're struggling to reach one of these bhumikas, in essence, you're not even a jnana yet because you're making efforts. Mark of the person of wisdom is they've given up struggle. Going on.
प्रत्यारतिवशात् अन्तः चेत्यं चेत् न विभावितं मुक्त एवास्त्यय संदेहो मुक्त एवास्त्य संदेहो महा समतया तया. On account of withdrawal within or into the core of one's being, if what is perceived or known is not conceived or imagined, one is surely liberated and without doubt by virtue of that state of supreme equality or identity with the Supreme Spirit.
Keep it simple. Rather than trying to make some mind state your goal. Cast off the desires of the mind. Do your best to be satisfied in the self by the self. When ego arises, do your best to drop it. See this world for what it is. Just the play of mind. Substratum, which is what's real, what really is, where life is. Never touch. Never touch. Next one. Is that the end of this section?
Not yet. With this one. Yat bhoga sukha dukkham shayi apara mrishta purnaghi atma ramo narattishthe tat muktastvam udahritam ityuktva dayaya praha mano ikshvakave punah. That state by which a person remains delighted in the self with a fulfilled mind, untouched by the divisions of happiness or sorrow in experiencing, is declared to be the state of liberation. Having told thus, Manu again spoke to Ikshvaku out of compassion.
So there's the summation of it again. When a person's mind is satisfied in the self, by the self. Again, using that very favorite expression of mine, Atmanava, to revel in the self. And again, Swamiji always used to say a single-pointed mind is as good as no mind. If we have a passion in our life and we can use it as our yoga, dance, being lost in the dance, or music, or service, where the full desire and object of desire become one. Kamola, oh, that was a good widget. My mind gets attached. With a yogi, desire arises, just a phantom. I can either go with it or not. If a conducive environment arises, desire and object of desire, the mind stops. All that stop the mind. Krishna, Krishna. even the world becomes a place that continually reveals. Next one.
Brahmata Prapti, the attainment of Brahmanhood. Yavaharyupashanto va grihastho vathava yatihi sashariro shariro va bhavatye vamati puman ahamatyadi inascha shuddho buddho jaramarah shanta samasamabhasa iti matva na shochati. A person devoid of the notion of I and the like, whether he is engaged in work or tranquil, is a householder or an ascetic, is with or without the limitations of the body, becomes endowed with such understanding as this: I am pure, enlightened, undecaying, immortal, calm, identical with all-pervading luster. Thus regarding, he does not grieve.
Yes. So the point is, one need not change the externals of one's life necessarily. We do need to give up our concern for it, though. Does that mean I don't have ambitions? Well, if it's the nature of your equipment to be ambitious, knock yourself out. There are no rules for the person of wisdom. None. Just always remember the dharma of the body is karma. Don't think just because I'm a person of steady wisdom, I can do whatever I want and everybody else has got to put up with it. You act like a jerk, you're going to get the responses for it. If you're a person of steady wisdom, that. It isn't better by being married. It isn't better by being unmarried. It isn't better having children. It isn't better not having children. It isn't better living as an ascetic. It isn't better having a high-powered job. All of that is irrelevant to peace of mind. Any thoughts on this? All it'll be is different. Change of all these circumstances. And I have implicit trust in your inner wisdom. Not smart enough to tell you what to do. But you know. And it's worthwhile developing trust in your intuition, because it connects us with wisdom beyond the rational mind. It's an unfailing guide. All right, next verse.
Bhattavasanamartho yaha sevyate sukhayatyasau yat sukhaya tadevashu vastu dukkhaya nashatah. That object which is pursued with firmly rooted desire or bound by mental impression created by past experience pleases a person. But that object itself, which is the cause of pleasure, quickly becomes the cause of sorrow on account of its destruction.
Yes, there it is. That's this world. And it's not just that the object becomes the cause of sorrow. So here's the world, always changing. But here's my mind, and it's always changing. Today, oh, I'm lonely. I want to be around people. Next day, oh, God, I can't stand people. I just want to be alone. And that happened. Oh, I don't have enough work to do. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Yeah. So the world goes around in its circle. The mind goes around in its circle. And this is the world. Now watch, every once in a while, wham! Oh, I got what I wanted. It was so fabulous. Let me try to repeat that. Oh, it's not working. It's not working. Struggle, struggle, struggle. Wham! Yeah. But it's so little juice for so much struggle. And it's so repetitive, so exhausting, and boring after a while. Give it up. Next verse. Oops, we have only we tried to do one more. Let's do one more.
Avinabhavanishtatvam prasiddham sukha dukkhayo tanuvasanam artho yaha sevyate va divasanam naso sukhayate naso nashakale cha dukkhadah. The state of being inseparably connected, of happiness and sorrow, is famous. That object which is pursued with little desire or without desire, or with a thin mental impression created by past experience, or with no mental impression in the form of memory of the past, does not cause pleasure, nor does it produce sorrow at the time of its destruction.
Yes. So he's talking about the reality if things happen where we don't have a lot of vasana involved. Do you like to go fishing, Puneet?
No.
So if I were to say, here's a fishing tackle box with a very experienced reel and all sorts of very, very exotic flies for you to go fly fishing here, how would you feel?
Wouldn't get much for it.
But if I want Harley Davidson motorcycle, how about that?
Not Harleys, but yeah, motorcycles.
So the world in the end is really neutral. I attribute pleasure-giving or misery-producing qualities to it, simply based on the past, or things similar to the past. I was in Trader Joe's a couple weeks ago, looking for Trader Joe's chocolate ice cream, which is really good. But I can't see. So I got a brown carton it was chocolate raspberry ice cream. Haven't eaten it yet. Similar. I'll probably like it. But why not? Close enough. So the teaching here. How do we do it? Keep turning the mind to the sun. Soak the mind in Brahman. Drown the mind in Ananda Sindhu. The ocean. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamedavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all. Thank